And there we have it. Round number 3. Two players will be fighting here, and I can already tell you we are not going to see any Sprite or, yeah, not Sprite cards, but I wanted to say no Tearlaments card as well, but there will be a couple of Tearlament cards actually in one of the decks as well. I like that.
I love this new zoom-in mechanic that we are having here. So, as you can already see, Tobias is playing Crystal Beast.
Oh yeah.
You saw the Rainbow Bridge. He is playing Foolish Burial Goods that can send the Rainbow Bridge to the other Rainbow Bridge of Salvation to the GY to add field spells. And one of these field spells that we can already see in Tobias's hand is a card that no Tearlaments player likes to see.
Absolutely not. Such an old and iconic card as well. Originally a Gravekeeper card, but the Crystal Beast deck is actually abusing it quite well. And we see what Daniel is on there, because I wanted to say it's not just Tearlaments, it's actually another archetype in this deck, which is pretty old as well by now. And this is one of the newer cards of the archetype, though. We see Taunt Scales of the Phantom Knight right there.
I personally feel old when you say that Phantom Knight is an old archetype, I gotta say.
I mean, you are turning a little old.
Stop.
But we see the new Tearlament cards popping off. Actually, this is the first time this weekend we have Tearlaments on stream, because round 2 and round 1 we didn't have them. But this, of course, is also still a very, very, very popular deck in this metagame right now. It's basically one of the 2 big contenders.
Wow, and what a mill with the kit colors. 2 names being Rhino Heart and Havenis, and a Sullik as well.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, because Tobias, actually, with his Crystal Beast deck, is relying on a lot of traps, continuous traps, and he's also having the Necro Valley, and you don't really know whether Necro Valley going second is that impactful when your opponent already set up his whole board. So therefore he could struggle a little bit going second versus this deck. But in theory, this is the matchup he wants. He wants to play versus a deck that's super graveyard reliant, that can be struggling against bounce effect with Crystal Conclave. So this is actually the matchup he wishes to see.
Yeah, but actually, I want to say that Necro Valley really helps to play through the boards, because if you are ending on Sullik and a Kaleido Heart, then you really need to resummon that Kaleido Heart with Sullik and then get your engine going.
Absolutely,
then you can go off with Paloreno, pop a card, shuffle one back with the resummon of Kaleido Heart, and then also fusion summon most of the time a Dragostopelia additionally to that. Once the Necro Valley is on the field, you just get the negate off of Sullik, so it's much less powerful. However, Daniel also is running an entire PK and a danger package, so I don't expect to see him end on Kaleido Heart.
I mean, it is on the field right now, so maybe it's going to stay there. Maybe Daniel's hand didn't include a whole lot of Phantom Knight cards, but there is the Taunt Scales, also the beautiful Starlight Rare one.
Rugged Gloves, and this is a really good start. Because now the field is kind of Nibiru-proof, right?
In which aspect? What do you mean?
In which aspect he has the Kaleido Heart that can be resummoned when Nibiru hits the field and shuffled back the Nibiru, so there's no body on board. And I don't think the Merly has triggered yet. I think it was Shiren, or was it Merly?
I think it was Hafnis. Hafnis and Rhino Heart. That
went from Kid Colors, but he also summoned Shiren.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was the first card he summoned, basically. Yeah, he used Shiren effect in hand for sure. And he's also using Sprite Elf. This extra deck monster is now in basically everybody's deck. Everybody, be it Sprite player, be it Tearlaments player, this card is just such a universal, generic, great link to, and it's being summoned here by that Tearlaments Phantom Knight deck.
It not only summons back a monster from the GY every turn, also on your opponent's turn, it also protects monsters from being targeted by pointing at them. And honestly, this plays around infinite impermanence, especially in this spot right here.
Quite well, but I think that's not really something Tobias is thinking about, because Tobias has decided to not run any hand interactions on his opponent's turn at all. He's just playing like the big traps we talked about.
Oh no,
he plays the field spells.
The
the one, but we would have seen that one already, I would have said.
I think so too. This card is so strong against Tearlaments as well. Sometimes also strong versus Sprite. Not necessarily the best one versus Runic Sprite. Oh, not bad versus Runic Sprite, honestly. It is okay. The card is okay.
The spell cards don't get into the graveyard, so it's actually fine. But Daniel is not being stopped by any Dimension Shifter right here. He can do freely whatever he wants, and Tobias just has to sit there and wait for now. And I think Daniel might be done now. The thing is, how well can Crystal Beast even play through Fog Blades? Because normal summon Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus and then the Fog Blade on him, that could hurt actually.
6th card Dimensional Shifter, and it's just being discarded now. Daniel is laughing a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel will be quite happy about that. That's a little late for him, but maybe can still be enough when that Necro Valley is going to be added to the field as well there.
I mean, Necro Valley doesn't really make a difference now when Shifter is active, to be honest. However, Tobias can, I think he's probably going to be able to play through that board, but what does Daniel want to go in with this IP? What does
That's
he
a
have
good
there?
question. Let me check the extra of Daniel
okay,
there.
so he chained Elf to Dimensional Shifter now?
To bring back the Merly. Okay, I mean, if he wants to mill with Merly now, but he doesn't mill with Merly anyways. Okay, I think he just wants another monster on board to link away with the IP Masquerena. He could go into Appaloosa, of course, that would be one option. Nightmare Unicorn, as always, and I think that's basically all the options he has.
I mean, those are two really good options.
For sure, for sure. Don't get me wrong. But let's see what Tobias is finding with his Pot of Prosperity right here. I think he's definitely hoping for something along the lines of Mystic Mine, maybe. He's only running one copy, but that would help right here.
Another Shifter.
Oh, there's Secret Village as well, right?
Oh, and actually Triple Tactic Talents will be really strong because the Elf was already used.
Absolutely, yeah. The Talents could be really, really
but
clutch
he is
here
taking the Rainbow Bridge of the Heart.
Of course, you
I
want to
think that
actually
was-
go for the Crystal Beast cards.
And why don't I show it to you?
Yeah, let's look at them. Rainbow Bridge of the Heart, that's one of the cards from the new structure deck, and he is actually playing 3 copies of it, and it's a really, really good one because it gives you an additional normal summon for a Crystal Beast monster, first of all. But that's not all, Leonard. What is happening as well with it?
I'm just gonna read it out.
Of course, go ahead.
During your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Crystal Beast monster in addition to your normal summon or a set. You can only use each of the following effects of Rainbow Bridge of the Heart once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 Crystal Beast card you control
There we go.
in your hand, and if you do, add 1 Crystal Spell Trap from your deck to the hand, and if a Crystal Beast card is placed in your Spell Trap zone, wow. Even during the damage step, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and return both that card and this card to the hand.
Yep, so potentially that could happen here. He is placing one of the other new cards that were introduced in the structure deck now into his Spell and Trap zone, and this is the new Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. There was a Rainbow Dragon before, but now there is a Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, so this has the name Crystal Beast in its original name. So you could actually put it into the Spell Trap zone with the Crystal Beast effects, which is really, really, really huge because this gives you more consistent access to the Rainbow Dragon itself.
Yeah, and this card is... it just packs a punch. It's just a straight up plus 1.
Absolutely, this card is insane because it can banish itself. Like, let's talk about it again, what it does actually. It can banish itself from the Spell Trap zone to then not just surge the Rainbow Dragon from the deck to the hand, but also
special summon a Crystal Beast from the deck.
Exactly.
Even though it does not have the effect just yet. So you can't just send another card with Crystal Beast.
Yeah, true. It will be negated, but still pretty good.
It helps you get into your rank 4s, which are pretty important.
Yeah, and as we see, it's not the only card he already has in his Spell Trap zone. There's also Sapphire Pegasus already in his Spell and Trap zone. So he's actually collecting Crystal Beast cards there in the back row. Yeah. And Daniel wants to make sure to prevent some monster effects from now on, so he went into the Appaloosa there with the effect of IP Masquerena.
And I think this is getting bounced.
It
Rainbow
could very well be.
I don't really know why the Sapphire Pegasus was put to the Spell Trap zone, because Appaloosa doesn't negate and destroy.
That's true, yeah, you're right.
So, what destroyed? Maybe he attacked?
Potentially. Okay, we are definitely bouncing the Appaloosa here. So Tobias, as you anticipated, is working through that board here. He is starting it off, and it doesn't look too bad. And now he is using the Spell and Trap Zone effect of that Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, I would assume. That's why it's banished right there. And we are special summoning Sapphire Pegasus. Let's go! The Crystal Beasts are popping off now.
Yeah, and now you can search for the OG Rainbow Dragon.
Yeah.
What a beautiful card. I have always loved this. Come on, get on the screen, buddy. We haven't seen you in ages in a live match.
Absolutely not. But Tobias is smiling while adding the Rainbow Dragon to his hand, and he now thinks about what to do next. And I think he's already breaking the board quite well, so that Necro Valley he has in hand can actually be really, really impactful. And we are continuing, and this is definitely Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates. While he has Rainbow Dragon in his hand now, he is actually able to activate and resolve that card. This is also one of the new cards from the structure deck. And actually you can reveal one ultimate crystal monster in your hand, which you now have with that Rainbow Dragon, of course, and then you can actually take one spell trap from the deck to the hand, which is really, really good.
And you can also use another effect, which is special summon a Crystal Beast from the deck, which has its effect, and now one of my favorite cards of all time. Ruby Carbuncle is summoned, and when Ruby Carbuncle is special summoned, you can special summon all the Crystal Beasts that you have in your spell trap zone to the field, and it is another Pegasus that sends another Pegasus.
Yeah.
I love what's happening.
That's
right
crazy
now.
because this deck has a lot of consistency cards. We just saw search for spell and trap, search for a monster, special a monster, so very, very consistent effects. But this actually has some aggressive cards to actually put out OTKs as well. But he does go for the Bagushka here.
Bagushka in attack position, and I can only imagine what this means. This means that he probably has not used his battle phase already, and he can just go into Zeus.
Oh, that might very well be the play here. Let's see, Tobias is considering his options. Maybe just Zeusing the whole board and then slamming the Necro Valley onto the board afterwards, which will be hard times for Daniel, I can tell you that for sure.
So does Daniel have removal in the main deck?
Let me check his deck list, which I have right here. And honestly, I'm afraid he doesn't. I think there's not a single backer removal card in his main deck, which is crazy nowadays, to be honest.
It is. It absolutely is.
That could really be something that could give him trouble over this
also
event.
has few in the side deck, not going to lie.
Yeah.
Even though Tobias' deck, when going first, also sets up negates.
You're right, yeah. It doesn't struggle that much with back row.
Play on the Bagushka attack, I think.
Ooh, so the attack does not go through and we're not going to see a Zeus here at all. Well, that's annoying. I mean, Tobias probably would have seen that coming, right?
Yeah, you should have seen that card coming. I think that it was even searched. I think the one banished card there is Silent Boots.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. He knew that card was there.
Yeah. But this is really interesting now, because after all these plays, he still has 5 cards in hand.
Yeah, really, really good. I mean, one of them is Rainbow Dragon, and you could not really tell whether that's going to have such an impact on this, because I think you won't really summon the Rainbow Dragon as much. It's really rare to have 7 different Crystal Beast cards on the field or in the graveyard or something.
However, it is kind of important to have it in hand so you can reveal it.
Yeah, for sure.
Of the Crystal Ultimates.
But still, there is that Necro Valley now, which we talked about. So Daniel definitely is massively hindered in what he can do in this turn now as well. So this could actually turn out to be a really grindy game in which I can see the Crystal Beast deck actually come up top.
So guys, it is not relevant on the field right now, but I really wanted to show you guys Carbuncle again. Such an amazing card.
It's quite funny that's just laying around there in attack position with 300 attack points just chilling on the board.
Not even getting attacked over.
Yeah, and I mean, Daniel just passed back over. It's back to Tobias. So that Necro Valley completely stopped whatever Daniel could think of. And therefore, it is back to Tobias, who is back into his Crystal Beast plays. And there is that Ruby Carbuncle now in the spell and trap zone, and he's going into his deck again.
And this is where it's the most dangerous. Rainbow Bridge of the Heart popped the Carbuncle to activate the effect. And now the Carbuncle gets bounced together with the Kaleido Heart.
That should be the plan, and Daniel is checking his back row, but unlikely that he can prevent that. And yes, the Kaleido Heart is going back into the extra deck, so Tobias has no field left on his opponent's side of the field and is free to go now, basically.
Another Awakening.
Oh yeah, the Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates.
Is not even revealed, so you only play one Ruby Carbuncle, so you don't even have to special summon from the deck. You just summon it from the spell trap zone, which is also an option, and you can summon the next Pegasus as well.
And there's also the next one. He's playing almost all of them. There's Crystal Beast, Cobalt Eagle now also joining the spell and trap zone. I love it. How old are these cards? These are so iconic. I love it.
Yeah, and Eagle is actually really strong. I mean, back in the days, I always, when I was a kid,
yes, of course,
looked at it weirdly, because I thought, okay, it takes a card from your field and puts it on top of your deck. That sounds like a -1 play. However, it can recycle your resources and put cards like Ruby Carbuncle back, so you can special summon it out if you don't have the option to put it in the spell trap.
100%, and now Tobias actually is starting to put damage onto Daniel's life points. So we see Ruby Carbuncle and the Sapphire Pegasus actually punching for what should be 2,100 in total in terms of damage.
Also, the Fog Blade is not on the field anymore, so I think that Bagushka can punch, and this is a pretty important turn for the Bagushka to punch.
Absolutely.
Because you can just summon Zeus over it. You don't have the option to summon Zeus for 4 materials
Not
anyway.
anymore. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, because you can't summon Downward over Bagushka.
That's right,
so
yeah, it's a rank 4.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, Zeus with 1 material is still kind of good, because if a card of yours gets popped, many people don't know that, you can attach another material to it. However, it's not that important in this situation. But do you even go for a Zeus here?
I think that Bagushka right on the field there is pretty fine. So he
Daniel
doesn't
can
do it. Daniel top decks into another foolish burial, which is actually with a Necro Valley on the board kind of hard to use. I mean, he can use it, but the card sent with it will not do too much.
I mean, he can normal summon the Tearlament Havness and attack over Ruby.
I mean, good luck with that, I would say.
Oh, he's just setting a monster. So Daniel is not... Oh, there we go.
And
It's
there
the
we
Conclave.
see finally the Crystal Conclave, which is honestly really, really important to the deck. Some people even call this the Conclave Crystal Beast Control, because this card is actually able to send itself to the graveyard and bounce one card on your spell and trap zone and one card on the opponent's side of the field, which he just did with the set monster of Daniel.
Yeah, and Sapphire Pegasus gets normal summoned. We are going into the battle phase, and the Brigandine, I think it is.
Yes, that Shade Brigandine right
Shade
there.
Brigandine is a trap card that can be summoned to the field as a level 4 monster, so one attack was blocked, and we are still in this. Daniel is still believing that he can take this game 1 from Tobias.
Absolutely, yep. So, still one more turn most likely. Tobias is putting the Sapphire Pegasus back to the spell and trap zone and is again going back to his deck. This deck is crazy. Honestly, I'm so convinced this is actually nice because it's so consistent. You're grabbing your deck back and forth. You're actually getting every card you want from your deck.
I will play this.
Yeah, it's
I will play this.
For sure. I know that you will. Honestly, you don't even have to tell me. I'm actually 100% sure you will. And there he's still popping off. And actually, this deck, I like the toolbox aspect of the deck as well, because you can actually play so many rank 4 monsters, so you can go with whatever situation you're offered.
You can go for Lightning Chidori.
Yeah, for example.
And this is game 1. Crystal Beasts win their first game on stream of the YCS Utrecht. 1-0 for Tobias. This is insane. The deck is so strong. I love it.
I definitely love it. Going second versus a combo deck, like a pure combo deck, which is Tearlaments, Phantom Knight, and he just squashed through it. No fear in his eyes. He just went, bounce this, pop this, whatever, I'm going through here.
To be fair, Necro Valley had
a card,
Necro Valley and Dimensional Shifter had a big part in this.
I will say that's definitely true, but still, that was really cool. And as I said to you, it's just searching, special summoning. You're basically having your deck in your hand non-stop because you are just going through it all the times. And I love the fact that you're playing so many different Crystal Beasts, actually. The fact that you're even playing... I mean, Ruby Kambunga is pretty obvious. I mean,
Ruby
this
Kambunga
is just insane.
Just the best. Pegasus is there for consistency. The Rainbow Dragon Crystal Beast.
For sure,
Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon is also really strong, especially when you send it with Pegasus. It's an immediately like +2.
What do you think is like the best new card that was introduced? I mean, that Rainbow Dragon is insane, right? That new one.
I think it's the Rainbow Dragon.
Probably, right?
It's actually just a +1 inherently, and it also has another effect, which I will tell you about later. If you're going second, it's really important, or I can tell you about it now.
Go ahead.
You can just special summon it to the field when you are attacking. I don't know if that's the full effect, but it really helps OTKing your opponent.
For sure, you can just use it in battle phase, right?
And I've talked to many players. Most of them didn't know what the new Crystal Beasts cards do, so this can really throw you off guard.
You know what? This could be Rika 2.0.
This could be Rika 2.0.
At Euros, nobody knew what Rika was doing, and then it just went through, and Marcus Patel won it all with a deck nobody had a clue about. And now Crystal Beast might be the new contender to actually pull it off.
So
Let's
here
see
we have
Crystal Beast win here. I mean, Tobias, the local hero, actually, he is from the Netherlands, so he might be the one taking it home for the Netherlands here in Utrecht. So this would be such a fairy tale story, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm 100% convinced that Crystal Beast is going to win the event. However, this was a pretty good performance, and we have seen it in YCSs before.
Yes.
Decks that can use Dimensional Shifter have a shot.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, he didn't even draw it at the optimal time because his opponent was able to actually set up his whole board, and then he was like, oh yeah, top deck Shifter, which is usually awful. You're always like, oh no, don't give me Shifter, it's a 6th card. But there he actually was still fine and happy about it. So I think we are going to see another very interesting game too. Maybe one where he does start instantly with that Shifter, so he would struggle even more against it.
Yeah.
But I think our opponents are ready. Not our opponents, but the 2 players on the table. So let's not have them wait anymore. Let's go back over to the table and let's start over with game 2 of this round 3 feature match. Oh, I'm so hyped already after that game 1. It cannot get worse. It will get better, right? It will get so much better now as well.
Absolutely. So let's see who is starting. Does Daniel say, okay, I want to start again? Does he have I mean, he's hiding a lot of going second spell trap removal cards, so he might let his opponent start, and this hand looks terrible.
Oh yeah, we see an Imperm and another Imperm. I think it was 3 traps.
I think it was Fog Blades.
Oh wow, oh wow. Daniel is switching his deck plan basically to back row control. Not by choice, though, I would say.
What's the side deck of Tobias look like?
Let me see. Is he actually digging for stuff like Lightning Storm or something? We see Lightning Storm would be in there, and he's actually activating Pot of Prosperity right now.
Digging for it, and I don't think there is an option for Daniel to prevent it if he finds it.
If he finds Lightning Storm here, this might already be such a huge, huge game changer in Game 2.
I mean, he activated Pot of Prosperity, so he's not going to be able to OTK his opponent this turn, most likely, unless he puts 16,000 damage.
Let's see. That Sapphire Pegasus is also quite cool already.
4, 5, and 6. There is no Lightning Storm.
No Lightning Storm at all.
Maybe he has it in hand already, but if not, that's pretty unfortunate.
For sure. He just feeds the card he basically played with Game 1 as well. We see another Shifter, which is now not going to do anything anymore because there will be a card in the graveyard, being the Pot of Prosperity. Also Sapphire Pegasus, the Crystal Conclave. Did you catch what he actually took there?
Necro Valley.
Oh, he took the Necro Valley again, which we also saw
I think
in Game 1.
Lightning Storm in his hand, by the way.
Oh, that would be... Oh no, this is Crystal Bond, right?
Not.
This is Crystal Bond right there.
Actually pretty surprised that we are seeing him play Lightning Storm, because with so many spells that you're having, you're putting cards face up in your spell trap zone.
You're right, yeah. Later on in the game, it could be quite costly to have that card being dead in your hand there. You're absolutely right. But he is starting off with Crystal Bond. Another card, just getting one card out of your deck into the spell and trap zone. I love how consistent this deck looks at the first.
And there is the Pony Boy. Sapphire Pegasus is being summoned to the field.
Yes, Daniel is constantly checking his back row there. I think I saw at least one Infinite Impermanence, but that's again another story we had with so many other decks before. When you don't know a lot about your opponent's deck, you just don't know where to interrupt it as well. So where are you actually throwing that Impermanence on? Yeah, look, he's just instantly throwing it onto the Sapphire Pegasus. Do you like the decision? Do you think that's a good point to interrupt?
He also changed the Havness, so this is maybe him praying a little bit.
And he did hit a Shiren with it, so Shiren and Harkness actually go on to fuse into that Kid Colors right there.
And there was a mistake from Tobias. He could have activated the Necro Valley earlier to prevent Harkness. So he might not... He maybe just didn't think about Harkness, but now he can go into Dragostapelia if he really wants to, just before the Necro Valley hits the field, to have another negate of an effect.
100% true. I think Tobias did the same thing Game 1. He held onto his Necro Valley very, very long, maybe to actually bait out a Cosmic Cyclone potentially from his opponent early on something else, so the Necro Valley is safe and not gets hit by something like that. Because let's be honest, if Daniel has Cosmic Cyclones in his side deck, he will be siding it in going first versus Crystal Beast, of course.
What do you think about summoning the Kid Colors in defense position?
I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. I mean, how much defense is it?
It's 1-2 or 1-3.
So Sapphire Pegasus actually would be able to run over it. There we have it. Kid
so
Colors.
Rainbow Bridge was activated in the Imperm column.
Oh no. Oh, how would you even get to that Imperm column there? I mean, there's so many columns you are not supposed to hit, and he is at his deck already, but this is definitely the Imperm column. I'm there with you. That should be the Imperm column for sure. And yep, I think the judges are picking up on it right now. Yep. I think the judge is telling him right now. So yeah, Tobias is just shuffling his deck, realizing that there's not going to be anything coming out of that Rainbow Bridge. And yep, that was the Imperm column. Crazy.
This is happening a lot today.
Yeah, it was in the round 1 featured match as well, twice actually. Yeah. And now this is happening again.
But this is like not the zone you're playing cards into.
Certainly not, but maybe Tobias can pull off the same thing that we had in round 1, because actually in round 1, he used a card into the Imperm column twice and still made it with a 2-0. So maybe Tobias is just going the same direction here.
This doesn't really look like it, because he also has the Eagle, which is more of a brick, I think. Okay,
but he is showing him the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon once again here, which he has in his hand, and I think he just gives it over, hands it over to Daniel to read it once more, and Daniel is considering his back row once more, and I think we're going to see... Ooh, there's the Salik on the... Oh, the Salik on the Sapphire Pegasus.
But Pegasus is already negated.
That's what I thought, to be honest.
Pegasus is already negated. I think that just didn't work here.
I'm quite sure you're right about that, yeah. Because Salik actually has to negate the card. I mean, let us just double check. We're going to double check there, but that should usually be the case. Look, yeah, okay. I think our judge is talking to the players, so everything is good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, there we have it. Good that we're here, my friend. Good that we have an eye on that. No, of course, our judges are doing a fantastic job as well. We see that Daniel actually... Okay, yeah, look, they are rewinding. Perfect. He accidentally, because there would have been no mill with Saldig at all, but he revealed that there was Twin Twisters, which I think is a really interesting decision, because our Daniel Drexler right there decided to not run Cosmic Cyclones and rather went with the Twin Twisters.
I mean, Twin Twisters destroys one more card.
Indeed it does.
And you can discard Dangers or Phantom Knight cards that are actually doing stuff in the graveyard.
Okay, so you are saying in this particular deck you like Twin Twisters over Cosmics? Because I think Cosmics, when I walked through the tables in round 1 and round 2 where we didn't have our own feature match, we saw a lot of Cosmic Cyclones.
I think it's the most played card in the entire event.
It might as well be, yeah.
I think it's really a possibility. I like Cosmic more, but when you're playing Dangers, I can see why you would go for it. However, I don't like it when you're playing versus Tearlaments in the mirror match or something. If your opponent only ends on the Sully and you destroy that, and also discard a card which is not a danger, then it feels
I think you pretty decently described the upside of it, being able to discard cards which are actually valuable in the graveyard. But the downsides are quite huge, because the cards you want to target with back removal right now really want to get banished and not go to the graveyard.
However, it gets rid of Fountain and Smashers if your opponent starts with Sprite. So,
but on the other hand, then your opponent can actually protect with Hagen again, because that is a destruction effect. So I'm really not a huge fan of it. But Tobias is a huge fan of Crystal Beast, and now he has the Eagle, the Cobalt Eagle, back on the field as well, and he's running into his sad Rhino Heart right there.
2,100 defense points of Rhino Heart. That is huge. He has to attack with the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon and will deal significantly less damage.
Oh, and I mean, Daniel is now freezing the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon there.
Does he play Zeus? Can he just normal summon a Shiren, go into a rank 4 and summon a Zeus? I really doubt it, gotta be honest.
Yeah, the Exodex space here is really tight. He's playing a couple of Exceeds, but there's no space for the Zeus as well.
Unfortunately.
Because that's always the struggle with a deck that fits so many different engines into it, which also have Exodeck monsters next to it. And therefore, he just doesn't have the space.
He is summoning the Shade Brigadine, goes into the Time Thief Redoer, and this one could at some point reveal a trap card and then shuffle back the Necro Valley, but I don't know if it's enough time for him here.
I mean, he does have a trap card already underneath it because of the Shade Brigadine, so he can actually just shovel away the Necro Valley. So he's free to play with his graveyard again. This might be really turning it around here for Daniel, honestly.
I mean, I'm playing Tearlaments and I haven't summoned him with a trap card in a year, basically.
Yeah, I see, for sure.
But yeah, obviously, that's what was supposed to happen.
And we have Danger Nessie now as well, so maybe he gets into more of his Tearlaments effect here.
Yeah,
this could be a really important turn in this game, for sure. He might be able to push through here.
So why did Tobias not go for a Bagushka in defense position here?
I'm also afraid that was the correct play, because what are those two Crystal Beasts doing there on the field besides looking pretty, right? They definitely are really pretty and really iconic, but I think Exceed monster would have really been in place there. I mean, we saw that in game 1 that Bagushka actually was pretty good, so I definitely
Bagushka in attack position was really strong. I think it's basically just can't be destroyed by battle or something.
We did discard the Taunt Scales and drew into another Phantom Knight monster. We are now normal summoning the Ancient Cloak, which he drew with Danger Nessie. Is that enough for him there, though? He would have access to Dark right there.
Can Dark summon anything?
Oh, it's IP Masquerade now. Okay.
But he can use the Cloak.
And then there's also, of course, still the Taunt Scales in the graveyard. So he does have ways to extend here. So maybe we're going to see the swing around, the turnaround here from Daniel.
This could actually be an OTK this turn.
I mean, this is one of the few decks, that is still playing Access Code. And we talked about the format a lot the last couple of days because we're always talking Yu-Gi-Oh, obviously, as you guys know. And there's not a lot of OTKing in this format particularly. And this deck is actually one of the few decks that would even play Access Code Talker, besides some other Link Freeze, of course, to get into that Access Code Talker as well. And therefore, he has a line here to go for game, maybe.
I mean, it's basically most of the decks that we have seen on stream so far. Not most of the decks, but we are seeing really aggressive decks here.
Definitely. Contrarian to, for example, the Sprite deck, which is actually really popular in this format and really struggles to actually go for game usually in one turn.
Yeah, and because of that, because Sprite and Tearlaments are so popular, Tearlaments pure without the Phantom Knight engine, which is quite aggressive, people seem to be playing rather conservative with their resources.
Certainly, yeah.
Trying not to overextend, not to open up a possible even lead that can win the game, as we have seen in Game 3 of the last featured match.
Yep. And we are going into Break Sword now. We are popping our own Fog Blade and the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon right there.
So not popping the Phantom Knight is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we're always just going for the Break Sword because it can summon itself back. But let's double check on how many...
Oh, he popped the Sully to search for the melee and popped the Crystal Beast. So
oh, and there
the
okay, yeah, I see, you're right,
so,
you're right.
Ooh, that was a huge mill. Rug Gloves and the Shadow Beast.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that part of his deck yet, because he's not just running Danger cards, Phantom Knight cards, and Tearlament cards. He actually is even running the 2 Shadow cards as well to have access to Shadow Winder in his extra deck.
A card that has fallen out of favor quite heavily for most of the Tearlaments players. You've got to be honest there. Why is that, Basti?
Because I don't think that Runic, which is a new engine in the meta game that is really, really popular, is struggling too much versus Winder, to be honest.
Yeah,
because they have a lot of ways to deal with it, and therefore it's just not as impactful versus it. And therefore I think Winder is just not doing the trick most of the time, and therefore people have cut it. And we are still going. As we said, Daniel actually with his version of the deck has a lot of gas, and he might be able to actually go for game here.
It's a scoop.
Tobias doesn't want to see it anymore. He has decided this game is probably going to Daniel, and therefore we have a 1-1 even score. 1-1 even score.
Is something that I have not seen coming. The removal of the Necro Valley was really important. He should have gone for the Baguska in defense position because Baguska is really, really strong.
Absolutely.
However, Crystal Beast is really strong at going first.
Oh, yeah.
We have seen combos in which you end on a good rank 4, you end on Conclave, and you end on the counter trap, which is Crystal...
let me double check. What was the name of it?
Crystal...
Crystal. It's definitely
something.
a crystal card.
Of course it's a crystal card.
Of course it is. It's a Crystal Miracle. Yeah. And it is indeed a miracle for the deck.
He is also running multiple floodgates.
Absolutely, yeah. What do you like more in this matchup? Is it Summon Limit or is it That Can Be Only One? Because those are the 2 traps he is main decking, actually.
I have to think if you can summon a card that outspell trap cards like Kaleido Heart in less than
2 summons. I think you will struggle, to be honest.
Yeah,
it will be
hard.
Very, very hard. So therefore, Summon Limit seems to be really reasonable. So I do expect him to keep that in for sure.
I mean, you have to basically summon Merle or Sharon with effect, and then mill a Rhino Heart.
The thing is, That Can Be Only One is pretty good versus the Phantom Knight part of the deck, but pretty okay only versus the Tearlament part.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, it's not really good.
Let's be honest.
And also, like, such a deck which is playing 4 different engines total, because there's also the Danger engine and also the Shadol engine. That's a good thing about it. You are actually going for all the different types, so therefore That Can Be Only One is not really that great against it.
But Summon Limit, however, is really strong against such a crazy
good.
deck.
And let's see whether Tobias is actually siding even more. And there's a pretty cool card in his side deck on top of all of that. There's Different Dimension Ground, which is siding triple copies of it. So
yeah, this is another shifter.
Indeed it is. And I mean, we have like 12 to 15 trap cards going first, which are really, really huge.
And we have the Pot of Prosperity, which is basically another one. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
If you activate it, you will find a trap card.
100%. And players are ready, so I would say
this
game 3 should start now. Let's see it here. I'm really hyped for this. I love that we see a game 3 between these 2 decks, because Crystal Beast is making me happier than I've ever been for the last 3 weeks, honestly. This Crystal Beast guy, Tobias right there, is making my day already, and he's starting Shifter right there.
Oh, but he has Prosperity, and this Prosperity is going to be really important because he has no other place. He has Eagle.
And see, Daniel has sided in Droll and Lockbird. What do you think? Is Droll and Lockbird a good card versus this deck? I think it's insane,
I
right?
think it's really crazy. However, he has Dimensional Shifter, and Dimensional Shifter will probably prevent a big turn. So this Droll and Lockbird...
Honestly, let me tell you something. He's not even going to be able...
Shifter.
Yeah, he will be chaining Shifter here, and then you cannot even chain... you cannot activate Droll and Lockbird even.
Oh, that's really strong.
That's really good for Tobias here. And there is the Summon Limit on top of everything.
Bridge, but he needs cards to play with. Sapphire Pegasus is a really good start.
I would say so, but maybe Daniel has additional hand interactions in his hand there. Who knows?
We could know, actually.
We could actually know, but I didn't see. I saw the Droll, and he's going for the
Pegasus. What a fantastic card. I'm so happy that with the new support, this basically best Crystal Beast is still the heart and soul
Oh, he's
of the deck.
checking. Nope, there is not another card he could use there. He is putting the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon back into the Spell and Trap zone, and it's banishing itself. There's Rainbow Dragon itself back in the hand, and another Sapphire Pegasus on board.
And now we can summon a rank 4 monster. What's he playing even?
I think Dweller is, of course, also an insane option versus Tearlament versions, and of course, especially versus this deck, which is also throwing an additional entrance, being Graveyard
However,
Reliant.
I don't think that you have to summon it on this turn, because you have Shifter active. So Dweller is basically just losing one of your monsters and
You're
losing
right. And
100
also,
attack
look,
points.
he doesn't even summon any rank 4s, and I think that's a pretty clear sign of him having Crystal Miracle set.
Did his
or
opponent
Crystal
not draw a card
Conclave.
for turn?
I think he did. I think he did. There is the reinforcement of the army. Come on, Leonard. Of course he drew a card for turn.
It looked like Tobias set a card and then Daniel just activated reinforcement.
So we are resolving reinforcement of the army for sure. Oh no, I think he... Yeah, that was the deck of Tobias actually. So now we are actually resolving the reinforcement of the army, and
So
Daniel
no
is
Ash there.
considering his options again, checking back with his hand. You don't want to make a mistake here in game 3 because that
Absolutely not.
mistake would maybe cost you the whole match there.
The thing is, what are you even playing after this turn? If your opponent maybe he has like Silent Boots in hand. Okay, Nessie is interesting because he's trying to build up a little bit of a board so you can run over the Pegasus monsters. And his opponent didn't look like he had any follow-up plays, you know? So,
Didn't look like it. What are we hitting here? We are sniping
this is
the
perfect for him.
useless Joel and Lockbird out of the hand.
I mean, Joel will be relevant in the next turn if Tobias can play.
So there's Nessie being summoned, and what is the card he draws there?
Nessie, by the way, 2,600 defense points. He seems to be really strong right now.
Definitely. We're playing a little bit more of a conservative old-school game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Here, where we are actually valuing the attacker-defense stats of the cards, and therefore Danger Nessie is actually a pretty big threat right there.
Nessie just sitting there, chilling.
Absolutely, in the defense position. Nessie really one of the most popular dangers, because obviously it's like the most generic, which searches out every other danger you could imagine, and also the really important part for the Tearlament decks is that it actually is an Aqua monster as well.
Why do you set Sharon here? He set Sharon in defense position. Why? You have the Nessie. Your opponent doesn't get over the Nessie. This is just giving him an attack over the Sharon.
He's giving away his own Chiron right there.
Attack position would have been a lot better, by the way, because it has 1,800 attack as well.
Yeah, I mean, then you actually are putting the Sapphire Pegasus into the spam
Yeah,
trap
okay,
zone,
you don't
so
want your opponent to.
that could also help his opponent. There's
Oh,
different
DDG.
dimension grounds, so as he said, another shifter basically, and there's also the Crystal Conclave now, which is for a second I thought he's going to bounce back the DDG to the hand, but he didn't. He's sending it to the graveyard though, which is pretty cool. You can actually send a card you already activated, so you don't lose out on anything because the effect of that different dimension ground is resolving anyways. That's pretty cool for him. And still he will be able to bounce something. He has not decided on what to bounce yet though.
He has to bounce a Crystal Beast card, right?
And also one card on the opponent's side of the field. But there's coming the normal summon Chiron. Now he is actually normal summoning the Chiron, which is pretty interesting because last time he decided against it.
So let's see if he attacks or if he just waits.
He is passing it back over. Tobias definitely in the driver's seat here with those two secret rare
Is he in
Sapphire
the driver's
Pegasus.
seat? Does he run Zeus? He should be.
He does
run Zeus,
he does
right?
definitely run Zeus, yeah, for sure. He's even running Zodiac cards to get into Zeus more consistently. He's running Checker 9 and Borbo to have consistent access to a rank 4, which could go into Zeus.
Pegasus is attacking the Sharon, and
There's
Impermanence is activated
on it.
probably to negate the Conclave.
For sure, but maybe there's another one. Oh no, it is the Crystal Miracle, which we talked about in between rounds. The counter trap of the Crystal Beast theme.
And
that was
it
introduced
destroys
lately.
the Pegasus. The Pegasus now goes into the back row, and now you can bounce it with Conclave to add it back to the hand, which is really strong. So
yes, you are now actually getting into your resources again. You will be able to resolve Crystal Beast's effect again, which you are in dire need of right now. You definitely want to get your engine going again there.
So Crystal Miracle, another beautiful card. What an artwork.
It seriously is, yeah. And Daniel is just sitting there on that Nessie in defense position. He's relying on this card being his wall basically right there. Just don't run over it, please, he's saying. But there is the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon on the field now.
Yeah, that's the next effect of Conclave, right? Because when a card is put to the spell trap zone, then you can... and now we bounce the Sully, which is really strong, so you don't even get the fusion effect. I mean, DDG is active, so there wouldn't be a fusion effect.
No, it's not active anymore.
Really?
That was the turn before, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm sorry.
That was the turn
it's
before,
Tobias'
indeed.
turn.
Yeah, it's Tobias, and he's going to run over the Chiron there. He, for now, doesn't even really care about the Danger Nessie on the board. He's like,
and
okay, yeah, you can sit there with that card.
Are we going to see Chidori?
Chidori. No, it's going to be the Dreller.
Makes sense. Fair
Absolutely.
enough.
Let me tell you something, he's actually not even running the Lightning Chidori.
Really?
Yeah, he's not playing it.
You're breaking my heart.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Such a cool
He's
card.
rather playing the Gusto Emerald, actually, which I'm a pretty big fan of as well, because that's also such an old and iconic card.
You can recycle all of these Sapphire Pegasi.
Yeah, indeed you can.
Is the plural of Pegasus Pegasi?
I hope so. It sounds amazing, but I'm not 100% sure either.
We're going full Pegasi at this stream.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, we saw a lot of those Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. It's definitely still the main monster of the deck. Of course, that Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon is really good. It's a great
Another
extender.
set monster. Wow, and Tobias now has plays because he can normal summon his Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus, and he also drew There Can Be Only One. So it is a floodgate that his opponent has to deal with. Also, this field can just run over monsters, attack with the Rainbow
now
Dragon,
we are
and now
getting rid
attack
of the
with
Nessie.
Drella.
And
Nessie is finally gone.
Yeah, it was sitting there for way too long, but Tobias decides it's about time to finally deal damage here in this game 3 of the 3rd round. And now, as you said, there's one back row, and we already said it, and we're now showing it on screen as well. It is There Can Be Only One.
Another Nessie in hand, which is not the draw you want to see. And actually, in this position, I don't really know what you want to see. If Nessie gets hit here, he just lost a card from his hand because Dweller is active.
Yep.
This could mean that Tobias next turn can close the game out. And actually, Daniel has to activate it because he needs to hurry. There are only 5 minutes left on the clock, and he's 2,900 life points behind.
So we are not hitting the Nessie bow.
And actually Nessie on the field is really tough on him because he has an Aqua monster already. There Can Be Only One prevents him from doing so much. However, this is the last Dweller turn. If he can manage to stay in the game for one more turn, he might be able to play.
That's what I'm thinking. And also, I mean, there's now Phantom Knight cards in the graveyard as well, which would not be Aqua monsters and rather warriors. So maybe you can then link climb at some point, but it's back over to Tobias, who now has the game in front of him. But there's the
Fogblade on Nessie, because Fogblade has another attack. It cannot affect the monster targeted cannot be targeted for attacks.
Indeed, it cannot be, but there is the Crystal Conclave of Tobias, so he could actually be bouncing stuff here, which would probably be the Nessie then, right?
Yeah. Oh, Foolish Burial is activated, and now Dweller is not active anymore. We only have There Can Be Only One. So what are you trying to do here in this situation? What are you sending? Are you sending a Phantom Knight card? Because also the Phantom Knight cards are being limited by There Can Be Only One.
Yes, you can always only work with one.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there are not even that many Link 2s in his deck. Let me double check. For example, one very good one is Dark, but the Crystal Beast deck actually is not relying on Dark monsters. So
one of the only decks that is not relying on Dark monsters.
Yeah, and then there's IP Masquerena and Sprite Elf, and that's all the Link 2 monsters he's playing. So it's actually not that great right there.
Do you know what I find really funny when I'm looking at this artwork? That Emerald Turtle is being played in actual meta decks, but not in the Crystal Beast deck right now.
That must be frustrating for the turtle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least it's seeing play, right?
Yeah, true.
Just look at the Amethyst Cat sitting in the background.
Yeah. But we saw multiple Crystal Beast players actually in the field, so maybe we're even going to see that Amethyst Cat at some point in the feature match today, because we saw other lists actually running even a bigger monster package of the Crystal Beasts.
So Taunt Scales is being summoned to the field right now. Next to the Nessie, you can kind of link climb. However, there's still Conclave.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're getting through this, and now at this point you have to hurry. This looks like it's going to be the last turn of the game. We have 3 more minutes, and it is a really complicated game state.
Absolutely. Tobias has managed to really basically bring this down to simple resources.
Shifter is Dark. There is Shifter and
Oh, actually it is.
He can actually go for the Dark here.
True, you're right. So this will be Dark most likely. Yes, we are going for the Dark.
Oh, Starlight Rare. What a pretty Dark.
It is indeed, and we have a target in graveyard. Tobias already put it on top of the graveyard. The Dimension Shifter will be summoned here most likely, and then we actually have access to Link Freeze again, which probably I would assume would end up being the Unicorn, I guess.
Yeah, Unicorn is pretty strong here. Let's just check what the type of Dimensional Shifter is.
And then we could afterwards just go into Access Code Talker, probably.
Shifter is a spellcaster, so you can't summon it with Dark.
Oh boy. We were so hyped about finding a Dark monster in there already. We forgot about the
I was fearing it.
type about it. But we found a way to get into Sprite Elf here. The thing with Sprite Elf, though, is you will not be able to Link Climb anymore because this card cannot be used for a Link Summon the turn it was summoned. This card is insane and everybody is playing it, but you cannot Link Summon with it.
However, he can actually activate the effect of Merly and try to mill some cards and maybe hit a Rhino Heart. I don't even know if he's playing Rhino Heart, to be honest.
Yes, he is. I saw it.
Okay, maybe he hits Rhino Heart and another name to go into Havnis, a spell, and Jackalope.
That's not really what you want to see there.
You can activate Havnis in the GY now for an additional summon.
The thing is, what are you summoning then? Because you have a...
Rura.
Oh, true, Garura would be possible here. You're right.
Garura is actually really good at dealing damage.
Yeah, everybody forgets about that. You're right. But wait,
however, he can go into Access Code when he has another monster on the field.
That's true. And also, shall I tell you something? He's not even running Garura. This card is in every deck list, basically, because it's also such a great super polymerization.
Okay.
But not in this one right here, no.
This is...
As we said earlier, the extra deck space in this deck is super tight, and now with less than 1 minute left on the clock, Daniel is really trying to get a hold on this game. He really has to hurry up. I think he's rushing into battle phase here. Yep, he is attacking right there.
No, the Salik was activated, chained to the Conclave. Now Merly is sent to the GY, and now Merly can activate to summon a fusion monster. But now there's the next question again. Which monster are you summoning? Which monsters can he summon even?
Now there's no Aqua monster on the field anymore, so that's Kid Colors again.
But the time is ticking. I don't even know if they have some kind of time extension. Why would you summon a monster in defense position now?
Oh no.
Kid Colors, this doesn't mean anything good for Daniel. If he summons it in defense position, I don't think he has a plan on how to win this game this turn. However, did he already normal summon? Because if not, I don't think so. He can search for the Rhino Heart.
He didn't.
He can actually activate the Rhino Heart. He can go into Kaleido Heart this turn and shuffle away the Rainbow Dragon. The question is, does he manage to do it in time? He discards the Sully, can actually search again, gets the next fusion now, and he's going to have a big board. But why is this Kid Colossus in defense position?
And we see it right there. There is the big T coming onto the table. Timeout being called. And therefore, Tobias has more life points than Daniel. So we see Crystal Beast actually taking the W here in round 3, and the crowd loves it. Yep. We have a lot of cheering going on. The crowd is super happy about it, as we are, honestly. Yeah. Crystal Beast, such a beautiful deck.
There's a massive crowd here, and people are really happy about seeing Crystal Beast. And I mean, it is a really big rogue deck. People don't really expect it, so I can only imagine what it's going to be like when you're sitting there with your probably Sprite deck in round 3, table 1, and your opponent comes there and looks you dead in the eye and says, normal summon Pegasus?
Yeah, people always love a hero story, right? I think this could be, we talked about it being maybe our next Rika deck, but also I think it's pretty similar to our Altergeist story he had at Euros, which came into top 4.
It's actually more similar.
Yeah, really, because it has a lot more trap cards, so it's definitely a lot more similar to this. And field spells as well, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I would love to see him go further and further and further. We are now already Crystal Beast fans. I mean, we've always been, but we have now been reminded again that deck actually is so insane. And therefore, I would love it to go a long, long distance here in this tournament.
I'm just happy that I got to commentate a game in which Ruby Carbuncle was summoned. What a beautiful card, and what a strong card even. I mean, this card has no restrictions whatsoever. I know that back in the day when it was printed, when it came out, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Not really,
There was not much you could do with the monsters that you are special summoning. Okay, you can summon like one Pegasus and the Cobalt Eagle and Mammoth and the Topaz Tiger, which was really good because it has basically 2,000 attack points.
Back in the day, there were no Exceed monsters, no Link monsters, no nothing. But nowadays, you just have a whole toolbox right next to your main deck. Yeah, you're right. And therefore, you can just do everything you like, which is definitely
Tobias didn't.
He didn't really. And it was still enough.
He just summoned the monsters in attack position and attacked occasionally.
Yeah. But I would like to talk about one thing. we really saw him having a favorable matchup here.
Yeah.
Because we see a main decking cards such as Necro Valley, which
Yeah.
are designed to beat the Tearlaments matchup. What do you personally think of the matchup against Sprite, which is the other big contender in the room, which a lot of people are on?
I mean, especially Runic Sprite is a really tough matchup for the deck. There's a lot of spell trap removal, and I mean, that says everything, right?
It could be a big, big struggle for sure. And therefore, it will be interesting to see whether he's going to dodge those or whether he's going to still manage to win with them.
I think it's going to be really hard to dodge.
Yes, there are a lot of Runic decks.
Also,
actually.
Evil Twin Sprite is really strong when they start. They have lots of pops.
Certainly,
It's really,
for sure.
really good.
And absolutely, we also, I mean, he has summon limits. So for example, summon limit could still be a pretty big game winner versus the Sprite decks. So I'm just wishing him the best of luck. I hope he is continuing the hero story here as our local hero here in the Netherlands, as a Dutch player. And I just want to hear it from himself now. So let's get back over to the winner's interview at Please Interview Our Winner.
Thank you very much, guys. The excitement for Crystal Beasts was palpable over there in the commentators' box. I was very happy to see that. I am joined by Tobias, who has just won round 3. First of all, want to say a massive congratulations. You were telling me before the match that you've never done a feature before, so how does that feel?
It was very exciting. I've never done it before, and it was pretty cool with the headphones as well. And when I took them off, it was so loud out here. There was so much noise cancelling. But yeah, it was fun, and I really was looking forward to it, because I was like, if there's any deck I'm going to get a feature match with, it's going to be this one.
Well, you certainly did. And so talk to us a little bit about Crystal Beast, because obviously it got its recent support with the structure deck and stuff. But importantly, nobody's quite figured out how the new cards work, so it's kind of hard to deal with. Was that part of your reason for choosing it?
Yes, well, my first part of reasoning was because you can run Shifter, you can search Necro Valley, you can play anything that banishes or annoys Tears or any other deck that uses the Grave. And it was also like, if you put just some floodgates in that don't affect you, you can just freely just keep on poking over the monsters and just grind them out.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the sort of play-by-play that happened. So at the start, Daniel looked pretty confident going first in that game 1, but you were getting all the iconic Crystal Beast cards. We were seeing Rainbow Dragon, and then you started to put him on the back foot with Necro Valley. So what was going through your head? Were you just wanting to get to Necro Valley and sort of dominate the field a bit?
Well, my opening hand game 1, I had a couple options, because I opened Necro Valley, Foolish Burial Goods, and I opened Shifter. So I was like, I can't Goods and Shifter, but I already had Necro Valley, so I was like, I'm just gonna do the Shifter and get the Necro Valley, because there would be enough interruption, because all the Phantom Knights couldn't be used, and all the next Tearlaments also can't be used. So that would be enough, and then I would have the Foolish Burial Goods for the next follow-up if I needed some more. And then it was just a question of just like grinding out the monsters and scars that are already on field, because when they're in the grave, they just don't come out anymore.
Looking at game 2, there was sort of an immediate back row. You could have Necro Valley to prevent Havernus at one point, the guys were saying. So why did you not do that?
I kind of forgot Havernus existed, even though I was firstly planning on playing Tearlament on this tournament. And I mean, I also played in the in-perm column that game, so game 2 was just like probably the stress or excitement. It was just a little too much, and I was like, I might win this right now or right now not, and just too much.
Well, then we got on to the 3rd game, which was very tense because it got right down to time. The big T was shoved onto the table there. So in that, there were moments where you dealt with quite a stubborn Nessie that was just sort of hanging around. It was quite a back row battle. Yep. So with that tension building and with the field being the way it was, how were you feeling towards it? Were you confident that you were going to win with that life point difference?
Well, the moment I had like the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon on field, so the big one, I was like, as long as I can do some damage, he won't get over this. He can't use his Grave, so then we just play it to time and we'll see what happens.
Well, congratulations, Tobias. It was an amazing win, and I hope you enjoyed your first feature. Great to see Crystal Beasts back in the game, and I hope you guys at home enjoyed seeing Crystal Beasts coming into the format right now. Very exciting. Don't go anywhere, because we've got the 4th round of YCS Utrecht coming up very, very shortly. Don't go anywhere.